All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and get things started. Right now, I'm not able to see everybody's name in the chat box. Usually I have like a little drop down. I can put a little question box up there. That's fine. I won't be able to, I usually like to name people off by names as you guys communicate with me. We go back and forth. So what I'm going to do is going to shift gears, put my screen up here, and let you guys see what I'm looking at here. Again, just want to remind everybody, you've got about 45 minutes of time and about an hour's worth of information. Did you want to say something more?
No. Go ahead.
Okay.
You got the floor.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just if you can if the question box pops up anywhere, I'll go ahead and click on it and open up on my side. And just want to let everybody know again that I currently right now can't see other names and responses. To me, this is more interactive than anything. I don't like one-way stuff. I like to be able to kind of communicate with people, let you know this is live, let you know that I'm a real person. But let me just kind of set a little foundation. And if this is monologish, fine. I think you're going to be pretty pleased. It's about 45 minutes. This session is really designed for one thing. And that's to help you see the power of artificial intelligence in your trading. And this is the same artificial intelligence that we use in our everyday life. And we're going to talk about that. But realize, though, AI is not for everybody. It's some people are scared by it. I get it. We're going to talk about that. But I've learned in my time that successful people do what unsuccessful people cannot or are not willing to do. So I'll just say I commend you on being here to find that out. My point is I don't take for granted your time. I know a lot of you have busy lives and schedules. So I'm going to give you everything I have in a short amount of time that I have here. Yeah, can we see the question box? Okay, thank you for that, Nate. All right, let's kind of roll. I don't want to have a lot of time to go through some bunch of intro stuff. I want to cut to the chase. Usually I'd spend a few minutes just going through a bunch of intro stuff. Let me just let you guys know my background's different. I was originally in the United States Army. Oh, there it is, all set up. Gotcha. Thank you guys for letting me access to the chat box. So could you guys do me a favor? If you're logged in, just do me a quick favor. I want to make sure everything's working right on your side. If you can hear my voice, type in yes, good, loud and clear. That's solid. I see Charles's response. Jim, I saw you earlier. Marshall, I got you. Thank you. Cool. All right. Looks like we're good to go. Thank you guys so much for that. I appreciate that. That's very, very helpful. Again, I like us to be kind of involved, if you will. And if you guys have questions and stuff, feel free to pop them in there. I may not be able to get to everything, but I'll try my best to kind of at least identify that. But yeah, I went to the Army, military intelligence, ended up getting 4 engineering degrees, got my master's degree, worked as an engineer, ultimately ended up kind of getting out of the engineering realm, became an entrepreneur, started multiple businesses, and then started trading. And again, I can go on and on and on. I mean, I started off my trading in Forex. And here's what happens. Here's the point behind usually when I tell a story like this is that you start learning more as you get farther along and deeper. You start looking for better tools for your trading. And that's kind of where the VantagePoint team kind of came to the picture for me, Tina. And if you don't know who VantagePoint is, some of you I think do. Maybe some of you have been around before. And I want to know real quick, where are you guys in your trading career? Just like what's your knowledge, experience, and results? If you could rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, just give me an honest answer. I don't need you to try to hype me up. Just 1 means you know little to nothing about it. 10 means that you're making $500,000 a year. It's so easy. It's dime a dozen. It's no big deal. Just kind of type that in. And then those of you that are typing it in, like what are you currently trading? Are you Forex? Are you options, stocks, futures? Primarily, what do you primarily trade? Okay, I got some threes, threes, twos, 9. Okay. And is anybody, yes or no, have you used artificial intelligence to make any trading decisions, like true artificial intelligence? Type in a yes or no if you have not. Artificial intelligence. Okay, futures, ETFs. Okay, good to know. If you're struggling, just understand it's probably because you've yet to really find any tool that can accurately give you the information that you need to make intelligent trades. It's not a guessing game. And that's basically where the VantagePoint team kind of came into the picture. And I will go over this real quick because it's important for you to know. VantagePoint is not, they are a software company. They're not a trading educator. They are not a broker. They are not a company out there trying to sell you a trading system. VantagePoint, they don't get involved with your money and they don't get involved with your trades. I think personally it's a little bit of sometimes a conflict of interest. If on one side we're saying, hey, we're going to teach you this and then also we'll manage your money, I think that's sometimes a little bit tough to deal with. They've been around for 40 years. This is not a fly-by-night company, 30 of which have been specific to AI. And I don't know about you, but I've owned my companies, the one I was talking about before. I've owned them for over 12 years now. I own 3 of them. And I know for a fact, you do not last 40 years in anything unless you have a rock solid foundation. I mean, you got to be doing something really, really, really good. And I believe that the reason why they do that and why they've changed so many lives over the years is because of one thing, and it's just because they look to empower traders daily. And that's a pretty loaded statement. There's a lot to that, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over that. Just kind of tell you a little bit about background. At the entire foundation, it's these two gentlemen right here. It's actually a father-son combination. They've revolutionized the trading world with artificial intelligence. Okay, look, this is not, again, it's not about a cute little system here. These guys are experts in the AI field. They've been using AI for over 30 years now. You may have seen Lane on some TV shows with like Kevin Harrington and Fox Business and NASDAQ. And the guy's been all around the world talking about leveraging artificial intelligence to make trading decisions. Maybe you recognize some of the shows here, maybe not, maybe seen them. And I could sit here and tell you stories. If I had an hour and a half to talk, I could tell you stories for days. That's not why you're here. About the legacy that the family's created, how many lives they changed. But just go check them out at some point in time. Don't sit here. Don't do it now, but go check them out. Check out some of the background, the stats. Pick up a couple of books. Watch some videos online. I'm telling you, like Lewis Mendelson is like the Steve Jobs of artificial intelligence. Software, that is. And Lane has been around this nearly his entire life. So imagine if Steve Jobs, rest in peace, were to train up his son, and then before he passed away, imagine that at some point in time when he felt that his son was ready, he could pass on that company. Like, that's another level. And 40 years in the same industry will do that. It's called credibility, longevity, folks. Nothing more, nothing less, okay? So that's a quick little intro. I'll try to get to that as quickly as I can, especially in a shortened time like this. Let me shift gears, start getting into what we came to talk about. Here's my promise. And I want you to hear me loud and clear. By the time I'm done here, you will have full confidence in the power of artificial intelligence to make better decisions for your trading. But more importantly than that, you're going to see how even the newest trader, I don't care if you're one of the people that said you're a 1 or a 4 or 9, you can leverage it as a decision support tool to make trading decisions based off of intermarket relationships, predictive indicators. And regardless of the size account you trade with, it doesn't matter what level you trade with. Because look, you can make a lot of money in this market. You can do it very, very quickly. A lot of you know that, look, but there's no such thing as an overnight success. This is a tool set, and tools require us to develop skills and use them effectively. So here we'll train you, we'll help you, we'll guide you. And so that, as that said, as I go through this demo here in the next 35, 40 minutes or so, here's all I want you to do is ask yourself, is say, can I see myself doing that? Does that make sense? Can I see myself leveraging that technology to make decisions? Maybe you're scared by AI. Maybe you think of like the Terminator, and you're like, you'll be pretty surprised. Because if the answer is yes, I believe you're well on your way to creating what I refer to as financial independence. And here's my definition of financial independence. It's simply getting to the point where you can do what you want, where you want it, when you want to do it, with the people you want to do it with. And I'll say this and I'll shift gears, that we are so confident this tool will increase your trading success. We believe if you can't gain an advantage leveraging a software point like this, you may not be able to gain any advantage in your trading at all anymore. And I know it's a very bold statement. I'm not trying to be tough. I've learned some things over time. So let's shift gears. Let's give you an idea of what we're going to be doing before we kind of jump into the meat and potatoes. I'll bring up the software. Let's get on the same page when it comes to kind of trading and charting. Can you guys do me a favor? Type in a me or yes. Can you see my screen right now? I got the VantagePoint software up. It's pretty simple. It's not, yeah, it's weird because I think a lot of times I look at companies that create software, and for some reason I feel like they almost like they try to overwhelm us to make themselves feel needed. Steve Jobs is known as saying, thank you guys for the responses, is known as saying simple is difficult. And so they've really crushed it here. They've really made it simple, very much like any software you've ever used. And I'll kind of walk through it, and then we'll come back to this. So when you look at this, thank you guys for the responses, by the way. Thank you, Christian and Jamie. I appreciate that. Timothy, good stuff. Andrea, I've got you. Mel, I've got you. Charles, thanks for the response. So if you look at this on the screen, what you're going to be seeing is a normal bit of, menu items at top. We'll go over some of the stuff. It's pretty self-explanatory. But on the left here is the stuff that we need to know. This software works in futures, Forex, ETFs, stocks, Canada stocks, crypto. Many people will ask that throughout the session. Yes, we can open up a few different ones if you want to. When you open up one of these, breaking down, these are called sectors. So there's about like 15 or 17 different sectors. You open up a sector like technology, and within it is all the stocks. Now, you can organize them like this, but most people just kind of know what they want to look at, and all you need to do is just simply type in a stock name up here. You don't even need the ticker symbol. So Type in a couple like stocks that you guys maybe want me to open up, and I'll just kind of show you what they look like with the software, and then we'll go through kind of breaking down some of the indicators. I'll give you guys a chance to do that. One second, let me grab a quick drink of water. All right, Apple. It's usually the first one in most people, so I'll type in Apple. There's the ticker right there. You just click on it, opens it up. Open up EEM, says Aaron. 1 second, we'll get that one open. I don't know what that is at the top of the time. Don't worry about the indicators right now. I'll actually remove these in a bit here, and then we'll just kind of walk through, and I'll put them on EEM. iShares, okay. So there's that guy. Ooh, all over the place, okay. So, you know, let's see. Let's look at Adobe. Okay, interesting. I'm not sure what Adobe is. Okay, Adobe. Okay, that guy's open up. So this is just kind of, you know, you could just open things up. Now, I will tell you this, that a lot of times people ask, because there's thousands and thousands of stocks in Forex and futures and everything in different instruments, but a lot of times people ask things like, well, is there a way that I can scan the market to look for certain types of indicators? The answer is yes. Yes, I don't have time to go over today, but write down on your paper, write down IntelliScan. So as I start to break this down and start to show you how to identify trends and future trends, there's a tool that you can leverage. It's not part of the webinar special, but you can leverage it. It's called IntelliScan. You're gonna want to leverage that if you can. Okay. So let's kind of break this down. That's the basics. Oh, and on this chart here, what these are all on. Let me go back to Apple. Let me turn off all the indicators here. Keep the bar up there. So this is kind of plainly how we look at things, and we'll add them on. These are daily. These are daily candles right here. Okay, daily candles. And those daily candles give us, like, they're actually predicted daily candles that allow us to know, like, what's happening now. And the reason why we use daily candles, because the software itself, each day what it does, it goes out there and it identifies, it goes and sources like 10,000 different data sources. There are 2 patents that run in the background on this. It calculates all the data, does its predictions, puts its indicators on there, and then you roll, okay? So just so you guys know kind of what's there and what's really available, all right? So kind of go forward, let's kind of start breaking down what it is that we're trying to do when we trade. Here's our challenge, and I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but how many of you out there, by typing in a me, have really had experience with some, if not all, of these, we call them the usual suspects? And I'm not here to tell you that they're bad. I'm not here to tell you that they don't work or anything like that. I'm just this is pretty normal stuff. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jane. I appreciate that. Marvin, I got you, Tim. Okay, the challenge with these, they're not bad. They work. They're great. I'm not here to be down on anything. It's the challenge is that ultimately they're lagging price indicators, and they communicate what has happened versus what is going to happen. And ultimately, if you're not careful, it can end up looking a little bit something like this. Now, this might be a little bit more of an exaggeration and over-exaggeration, but if you've ever felt this way, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I remember when I was a new trader and I learned all these different indicators and I had them all over the chart, and it literally, it didn't quite look like this, but I was like, what the heck is going on? Well, here's the thing. If everybody uses those, then why on earth do most traders, no matter what system or what tool you have, why do most fail to return any real substantial profit or create any favorable return patterns? It's not that most traders are unintelligent. I happen to believe you're in this session here, you've been learning a lot, you're intelligent, you're a smart person. It's simply that most traders are not using tools that forecast the market. They're using a lot of lagging indicators. So what options are we left with? If we're traders, we're trying to get ahead and make a profit in the market, trading tools are somewhat lacking. Very few of them, if any, predict. They all trend follow. And knowing this, we can either be like Bob on the left-hand side there and throw our hands up in the air and not trade, which quite honestly is not really an option. I mean, you would agree that you're a trader, you're going to trade, it's inevitable. You can buy every trading system under the planet, hoping to find one that gives you an edge. A lot of people do that. You can attend every single trading school possible, or you can leverage a more intelligent approach. You can leverage the power of modern software, holistic information, data analysis, and computing power to have machines help us make, we call it holistic decisions. See, trading in today's day is not based off of cute systems. It's based off of how much information do I have the best information possible to make the best decisions, and I want things to be lining up with each other. It's about relationships that occur between the markets to leverage that information and make predictive indicators with up to 86% accuracy. And I did just say that, And that is something that I'll show you a little bit later, a third-party study done on the VantagePoint software. That kind of accuracy is very, very realistic. Here's the bottom line. You are a trader. You've already decided to do this. I'm not here to show you how much opportunity there is. As I go through this, at the rest of this webinar, I want you to really consider this. You and I are going to trade anyway because we're traders. I don't care if you're stocks, futures, Forex, options, doesn't matter. Why not gain the greatest advantage possible? Why not get the most information possible? And that's where the power behind artificial intelligence is. Now, normally I'd spend a little bit more time digging this up because here's what I found over the years that I've been involved is there are people that are just simply afraid of when you say that word artificial intelligence. And I understand that. We see movies and it scares us. We see the Terminator, it scares us. But it's nothing new. And it's around us everywhere. And we don't even really think twice about it. In its most simple form, it's their algorithms and mathematical rhythms that spot patterns and they leverage other patterns to make future decisions. Machine learning tries to mimic how the brain might respond, often with a set of complex, they call them neural networks, a whole bunch of technical mumbo jumbo that we don't need to spend time on. And most likely you've interacted with some form of AI in your day-to-day activities. Maybe you use Gmail and I remember a couple months back, my Gmail turned on an option for me automatically and it started predicting what I was going to type. Kind of freaked me out a little bit, so I turned it off. I don't want anything predicting what I'm going to do with my words. I'll change the words up just to mess with you. Maybe you use Siri or you use Google Assistant or you use Alexa to be able to communicate, and it kind of knows what's going on. Maybe you have a newer vehicle, like for instance, my wife has a Buick SUV. I've got a Lexus, and they both yell at us when we get too close to a car or we depart our lane and it tells us things. And like, for crying out loud, Tesla can drive itself down the road. We're in a different day and age. And normally what I would do is I'd go through this couple examples. Go at some point in time. I don't have time to do it. Write this down on your paper and go check out this website one time called QuickDraw, Q-U-I-C-K, quickdraw.withgoogle.com. It's actually, and you will spend like 30 minutes there. It's a little game. It talks about leveraging neural networks and how things can be predicted. Because what it does is, and usually I'll spend about 3 minutes doing that. I don't have time. It goes back and it analyzes all the pictures that all 50 million people ever drew, and it'll actually predict what you're drawing. Simple artificial intelligence. So the question is, okay, would it fair to reason that we can leverage that modern computing power? And then you have things like Nest. If Nest is just simply a thermostat, then why on earth did Google buy Nest for $3 billion? They did it because of the artificial intelligence in it. And what it does is it identifies your patterns in the house. It knows you're going to come home before you come home. So I go through all this because I realized over time that a lot of people get nervous with their trading when they start talking about AI. But we do this and we give our lives to it. So just like with our smartphone, the longer the machine has to learn our behaviors, the smarter it becomes. Here's the point. We already use it. We trust AI, artificial intelligence, to help make decisions on our daily lives without even thinking twice about it. So if it can do this for our smartphone, our car, our air conditioning, think about what it can do for our trading. If there's systems with 30 years of learned behavior, 40 years of history, what it can do to make decisions based off of market relationships. Let's explore that in the market. Let's look at that. Let's not look at cute little trading systems. And I say that the right way. I don't mean to be demeaning. But a lot of times you'll hear these people talking about, well, here's a trading system and there's an up arrow and a down arrow. But let's just say, what if we looked at the big picture? Here's an example. Just like with that draw game I was telling you about, can take millions of sets of data, compare them to each other, find out how much each one is similar to the others, do a weighted calculation of all the images that are like it. So too can we look at the markets and do the same thing. Here's a couple examples. For example, Amazon and the E-mini NASDAQ. I don't know if you know this, but those typically run in a 1-to-1 correlation. It kind of makes sense. You can probably decipher that for yourself. That's probably not new news to you if you're a trader. It makes sense because Amazon is in the E-mini. It's a big part of the E-mini NASDAQ. Well, that's one. Well, what if you took like Bank of America and the financial sector ETF? A complex curve that's the same on Bank of America that it is on the financial sector ETF. Again, probably you could do a visual and go, okay, those look the same and that makes sense. But then things start getting complicated. And this isn't even that complicated, but let's just take gold in the S&P E-mini 500. They have an inverse relationship. So all these, if you're looking at a stock or a currency pair or a futures contract or whatever you're looking at, all these, let's just take a stock, let's just say Apple has dozens and dozens of other stocks and currencies that correlate to it, and as those move, so does Apple. So it is humanly impossible for a trader to visualize and calculate every single complicated intermarket correlation. The only way to grasp that is through the application of mathematics. And this is where VantagePoint has kind of really excelled. This is where the patents come into place. It uses neural networks to identify which global markets have the most influence on a target market. So I want to know what has influence on Apple. Then it produces a set of intermarket data to generate technical indicators that are predictive, give a short-term price and trend forecast, and VantagePoint is able to do this leveraging two patents. So it's not about a system. It's about making decisions based off of, write this down, information. So what if we could take all that data, compare it all to each other, determine how everything relates and the way to which they're related, and can visualize that all on one screen? That's essentially what we're going to be doing with the tool. So let's go ahead and kind of get into the meat and potatoes. Again, if you guys have little questions that pop up, that's fine. I can't go. If at any point in time, let me just lay some ground rules. I'll take a quick drink of water in a sec here. If at any point in time, software does all the work, all we have to do is learn how to use it. Here's my ground rules. If you have questions, feel free to type it in. If you feel that maybe I'm not answering a question, or if you want to talk to somebody about getting access to the software, you have questions about the software, you want to find out the subscription on the software, just type in a phone number. What I'll do at the end of the session, and since I don't have a whole lot of time, at the end of the session, we'll reach out to you, we'll have a phone call, we'll have a conversation, and then when we do have a phone call and a conversation, we'll see if it makes sense, and maybe it makes sense to be able to, talk to you guys and get you guys engaged and maybe get you the software. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not here to close that. I'm here to kind of open up that door. Okay? So let's go back over to the software and let's start digging into this. How does this all work? We're doing really, really good on time. Thank you guys. Number one thing, open up a chart. So if I have a chart open up like this and I go to, now I can set up portfolios and I can set up a portfolio for all my bullish movements, all my bearish movements. Maybe I want one for tech stocks, or maybe I want one for futures. You can set up multiple portfolios, but whatever's open is right here. I'm going to right click on here and I'm going to go to properties. Franklin, I have your phone number. Again, if you type in a phone number, please make sure you let me know specifically what you're looking for. Specifically what you're looking for, because otherwise I won't be able to necessarily help you out. I need to know so I can call you up and we can give you a shout and we can help you out specifically. So type that in, okay? But if I go to this and I go over to INTERMARKET, what it lists here is the current. This is not just random. This is the current intermarket relationships that occur between Apple and every single stock and future and ETF out there. You can look at these. These are all the things that actually affect how Apple moves. Some of them are affected by it. Some of them affect them. So if you look down here, you can start to maybe make heads or tails of these. You can go, all right, well, that makes sense that the Japanese yen is one of them, because probably most of the parts are made out in Japan. If I could double click on this and I can open up the Japanese yen and I could be able to analyze that one as well. You can know US dollar, gold makes sense, but down here like Marriott, okay, well maybe Marriott is one of the partners that they work with when they go travel around. Starbucks, okay, maybe, like there is so many correlations. There's so many correlations. What it does is it scans. There's like 30 different correlations here. It scans 10,000 markets around the world. It looks every day at the highs, the lows, the close, the open, the volume, crunches all the data to determine which markets are driving, in this example, Apple, up, sideways, or down. It also calculates the degree of impact. So even if we could determine the relationships themselves, there's no way in the world that we could figure out the weight of those relationships and the directional bias. So without even getting into any of the indicators and any of the software and how to identify a trend, like this information by itself is gold, because even if I don't use any of the indicators, I go, well, now I know how things are correlated and it's right there in front of me. And I want to know what touches any particular stock or future or currency pair. Does that make sense? That's the first part. Like, we're literally already doing things that nobody else can do. There's no spreadsheet in the world you can do to catch up with all this stuff. You'd be working your tail off. That'd be a full-time job. All right, now, second piece of it. Now we're going to go over the indicators, because this is where it gets a little bit exciting. When using AI, artificial intelligence, it's important to understand that everything plays together. The systems learn from the network. So although having like one indicator can really tell us quite a bit, you know, some of you do. You have tools, have an indicator. It's good. You have momentum indicator. You have Fibonacci's. You have all kinds of things. You have trend indicators, moving averages. It's good. But you really start getting some answers when you're using all of them to help determine what may happen next. So the way the software works is this. Again, each day at 6:30 p.m., it goes out, calls out to the data source, downloads thousands of stocks, currencies, ETFs, Bitcoins, and futures, and dunculates all the information and spits out its predictions for the next day. They've been doing this for 30 years. 30 years. So let's go back to the software. Let's break down kind of what it looks like. Well, actually, I'll just do this first. These are the predictive indicators we're going to be looking at. The first one that we're going to look at is what's called a crossover. There are medium-term crossovers, long-term crossovers, short-term crossovers, depending. So this is actually something that you can use based off your trading style. If you're a day trader, you would use this a different way than you would if you're maybe more of a position trader or a swing trader. But the different crossovers, it's a forecast of a moving average versus a predicted moving average. I'll go turn it on the Apple stock real quick, just so you guys can see it. Let me close this guy down. Go back to Apple. So we got the crossovers. So we got the long-term crossover right here. I'll squeeze this guy down a little bit so I can get everything into the screen since this last move. So it's been going up. Apple has been doing pretty good since January. Before then, it had a nice movement down. I'll try to squeeze everything in there. Nice big movement down. This Apple swings pretty good. About 3 months of movement up. Okay, that's great. But the crossover is if I go back to the chart, it has a moving average and a predicted moving average. The moving average is the blue line that you see. I'm sorry, the black line that you see. It's nothing special. It's a simple 10-day moving average. What that means is that it takes the price of the last 10 days, averages it, and creates a point, and then connects the dots. The blue line is what's called the predicted moving average. Now, mind you, we've got 30 years of data. We got new data every single day and patterns in history, and it goes in and predicts days, and it adds that to the moving average and creates a different line. So this is where the artificial intelligence comes into play. So what you and I are looking for is what we call the crossover. That's what occurs right here. Let me go back to the chart. What we're looking for is the crossover. When the blue line crosses up over the black line, well, they've actually shaded it, makes it a lot more simple. But when the blue line crosses over the black line, it's predicting the market to rally over the next 1 to 3 days. When the blue line crosses over this way, it's predicting the market to decline. And as you can see, Apple has indeed declined. So the greater the separation angle, when you start seeing this and you see the blue line separating from the black line, it's starting to predict momentum, which are usually good profit points. And so this is just one piece. The greater the separation angle, the divergence, the greater the strength of the trend. All right, that's one piece of information that we need to make a quality decision on whether or not we believe Apple is going to trend up or whether it's going to trend down. As you can see, it crossed over down about 3-4 days ago, and it's been going down for the first time since the beginning of January from a long-term standpoint. That's the first one. The second one is something we call a neural index. The neural index, what it does, it's a proprietary predicted value, and it predicts whether the average price is expected to be higher or lower than today's price over the next 1 to 3 days of trading. So it's actually predicting, it's called a neural index, and it's kind of a sequential thing. So when you look at the software, what you'll do is I'll turn on the neural index, and you would have these on all the time. And I come over here and I create a line. So for example, when the market crossed over and it was green, the blue crossed over the black, we would look down and immediately take a second bit of information. When the crossover occurs, the very first thing we go down is check the neural index. Check the neural index. When these two agree, when this is now in the green zone and it's crossed over and this is a green neural index, we have information that's 86% accurate that's expected to start going up. So just those two alone, you start to realize, okay, we have information. Now, maybe you want to place your Fibonacci's on this. Maybe you want to use your trend line breaks to get into the trade, but you have now predicted information giving you more confidence in every single decision you make. That's all we really need as traders. I think the biggest challenge that traders have is knowing when to stay out, right? Not just knowing when to get out, knowing when to stay out. Now, I'd rather be out of a trade wishing that I were in than in a trade wishing that I were out, okay? That's the second one. Now, the third piece of information we look for is something called the predicted differences. Now, this is actually 3 different indicators built into one, but the 3 work together to help us make a decision. So there's 3. What it's doing, the predicted differences, it's a line. We'll put it down the chart in the bottom here. It shows the predicted direction, of the market over the next 1 day, over the next 2 days, and over the next 3 days. The way it looks is the aqua represents, it shows the predicted direction of the market 1 day in advance. The pink or magenta shows the predicted direction of the market 2 days in advance. And this is the predicted direction of the market 3 days in advance. Here's what we want. If we're going to place a trade, if we're going to look for a trend and we're thinking that things are going to start going up, we want, like right here, we want all 3 of those to be going at the same angle in the same direction. We want all 3 of them moving the same direction at the same angle, the same direction of the crossover. So if these are going up at the same angle, parallel or closely parallel, we want that to be the same as this green here. And again, we'll teach you and we'll do this with you guys live on a regular basis. So come back over here. Let's see, I'm going to turn on the predicted differences. I got the long-term one, the medium-term one, short-term one. Oh, those are down here. Open that guy up. And as you see here, when the market, when it crossed over, when we had the green crossover, we had the neural index, we looked down and those 3 were parallel, giving us an opportunity to get into the market based off an uptrend. So if you see that they're conflicting with each other drastically, like big time, then it's a place where there's some volatility you don't want to get in. Indicates volatility in the trend. It might not be a good opportunity. So again, we're just building a case. And maybe, see, the challenge with most traders is they tend to kind of get excited about things. They find one indicator that looks good and like, man, I'm going for it. And I'm just sitting here to tell you, I would rather be out of a trade wishing that I were in than in a trade wishing that I were out. Can anybody give me a big old amen, hallelujah, preach it, brother? I mean, I'd rather be out wishing that I were in than in wishing that I were out. Let me go back to the 3 months here, squeeze that guy down so you can see this, okay? And the fourth one is the predicted candle. Now, I'm going to say this. When I was looking at the software, I'm going to be real straightforward with you guys. I was super skeptical of a predicted candle. Super skeptical. So they're telling me right here that you're actually forecasting the candle for the next day, Hector. What? No, that can't be. And they actually showed me something that gave me a little bit more confirmation. So if you look at the chart here, so this is the predicted candle right over here. And what it does, it tells us the predicted candle for the next day. So if we're looking to make in this example, if we're looking to make a trade and we want to maybe short the market, we want this gray candle to be lower than this previous day's candle. We want to be down here. So we wouldn't have made a move. And if you look at this right here, I think apples are like 191 right now. Pretty good range. Here's what changed it for me. I remember sitting in on a session like this. I remember talking to the guy. His name was Daniel. And I said, okay, I need some statistics to ensure that I'm confident and comfortable about that predicted candle. And he just simply turned on the views right here. I want you guys to see this for yourselves. This view that I just turned on it's called the P highs and P lows. What it represents, this red line represents the predicted, the top of the predicted candle, the high of the predicted candle over the course of the last several months. This predicts the low, this represents the low of that predicted candle. And then the actual candlesticks are right here. How many of you can agree that's pretty darn good? I mean, if we're talking about artificial intelligence, we're talking about we're talking about a good 70+%. That's really good. So if I'm looking to make a move, I want to have confidence knowing that all 4 of those things line up. And if all 4 of those things line up, I now have confirmation. And if they don't line up, I want to go look at another trade opportunity. And that's where we use maybe the IntelliScan that I talked about before. If you logged in late, the IntelliScan is a tool. I'm not demonstrating it today. It is available. It's not something that's part of the webinar special here. Write it down, ask about it. Scan the market. And what you can do is you can say, okay, IntelliScan, you tell me when there's a predicted differences all lined up and the neural index and the medium term crossover and the gray predicted candle pointing up, then give me all the stocks and futures and currencies that line up with those things. And now I only have to look at a handful of pieces versus dozens and dozens, not hundreds of different stocks. Does that make sense? So ultimately it ends up looking like this. If you're going to confirm an uptrend, and again, you might want to write this guy down, you're going to have the crossover. You want to cross over and above the black line. The blue line must cross above the black line. We talked about that. To confirm another uptrend, you also need to have the neural index as green. You also need to have the predicted differences, those 3 lines at the bottom, they all need to be moving up at the same angle. And then lastly, you need that predicted bar to be higher than the previous day trading range to find an opportunity. Okay? And then in the opposite, it's like this, downtrend, crossover, the blue line must cross below the black line. You must have the neural index to be red. You must have the predicted differences all moving down at the same angle, and the predicted bar lower than the previous day's trading range. It's as simple as that. And it ends up looking something like this. You got a couple indicators great for an uptrend, a couple indicators great for a downtrend, and if it doesn't line up, don't look to make a trade. Because again, I'd rather be out of a trade wishing that I were in than in a trade wishing they're out. I mean, how many think that's pretty helpful typing to me? Like, I mean, I'm just talking about information. And a lot of people go, man, this must be like $10,000. It's not. It's not even close. But if you start breaking this down and you go back to that long-term view here, and you go, okay, well, when Apple did cross over, let me get back and squeeze this guy back down. When Apple crossed over, back over here, and it crossed over, and assuming we had a candlestick that was predicted, we got in, and we stayed in, let's just say we're a position trader, we stay in long-term right here, and we got out over here, well, that movement alone, before Apple crossed over and got into the red, that movement from January till, 4 or 5 days ago, from January till 4 or 5 days ago, you see got in here. And if you had held on to that all the way till it crossed over, we'll just give it a benefit of the doubt. Maybe you held on to it a little bit longer. I'm going to right click on here, profit calc. You could see over the course of 79 trading days. Now you might be a shorter term trader. A lot of times if you're a day trader, you would use that predicted candle right there to set your range for trading. If you're more of a swing trader, you might set that for your stop loss. If you're more of a position trader, you might leverage some of these tools a little bit more. So it's for every type of style, not really for those that are scalpers, I would say. I'm sure you can, but I personally probably wouldn't use it for scalping. But you could see here, when it crossed over the red, everything else lined up down below. So even when it crossed over going down, Apple did well. But in this movement right here, across what, 4 months, 79 days? Let's see, it grew 44.34. It's like 28% growth. Let's just say you bought 100 shares of Apple, and you held on to them. That's $4,400, $4,434 across 79 trading days. It's a pretty good position trade. Pretty darn good position trade. You probably could have maxed out a little bit, maybe about $5,500. Maybe you could have got in and out of it a couple times based off your other strategies, but you have the information at your disposal. So just that movement alone, 44.34, you come over here and you start to say, all right, to my portfolio, I have Apple, 44.34, added to my portfolio, 4 months, not bad. Not bad at all. And we just, we keep doing the same things over and over again. It becomes more of a habit of looking at the right things. And I don't have a whole lot of time, but I actually have a portfolio set up right here. I just want to kind of just let you guys know that there are some other things you might want to be looking out for. And I'm going to kind of wind this down because I'm legitimately running out of time. But just open up a portfolio. There's ones like Iron Mountain you might want to pay attention to. It's got a nice little crossover setting up. Heron Therapeutics is another one you want to pay attention to. Fleer Systems has been good, very, very good over the course of the months. But, it's like I told you about that study. Let's go check out that study real quick. I said there's a third-party study. It's from Your Trading Edge. It's a publication. Click on the review. It opens up. Gentleman Terry Wooten comes in. He says, all right. He goes through and he does a testing. He tells about all the background. He says, hey, I wanted to test this for a few years, not just for a couple months. June 1st, 2013 to December 2017. And you can see here, individual stocks, American Airlines, 82.2% accuracy all the way down to Southwest Gas Holdings, 80.7. Exchange Trading Funds, 79.6 all the way down to 78.8. Commodities, 82.4 all the way down to 80%. This is what is being said by third-party people that are not VantagePoint. And then we can talk about the students. We can talk about the clients of the software. People that are, that say, hey, this works according to my own personal ambition and behavior. I don't have to have a certain way of trading this. Alfred right here is 90 years old. He says, when I heard about VantagePoint, I was skeptical. After my second training session, I bought 3 different options. All 3 were closed in 5 days, and my profits was $6,452. He's 90 years old. Come on. I like this one down here. Billy says, though, VantagePoint is slowly helping recover the money I've lost over the years. My advice to traders would be to buy VantagePoint. Don't get too greedy or anxious. Wait until VantagePoint indicates a good buy or sell, and you will make money. You go, well, Kelley, you're just cherry picking these. You're just finding the best opportunities. Okay, fine. I'll take that. Go to the VantagePoint software website. Go to the customer reviews, start scrolling down. Look at some of the video, watch some of the testimonials, and I could literally sit here for hours upon hours upon hours going over different ones. I'm a day trader, and every day I download the software and the indices and that Forex and the Forex that I follow. With my profits from trading, I treated myself to a top of the line Range Rover last year. That's pretty good. I could do this all day long. I back tested the program first thing, trying different options on the charts while paper trading from the middle of June to the middle of July. I'm up in excess of $18,000. Michael, I have your phone number. I'll reach out to you as soon as we're done. It just starts to make sense. And people go, well, how much does it cost? What it's going to take me to get into it? Clayton, I have your phone number. I'll ask you this question and we'll kind of wind things down. With all the success you just saw, if you have the tools I just demonstrated at your disposal and I could teach you, or better yet, VantagePoint could teach you a skill set where you could take a couple $1,000 investment trade and make several $1,000s month after month, would you allow the VantagePoint team to train you and leverage the software? Yes or no? Exactly. Thank you, Tina, Diane. Remember, you're going to trade anyway because you're a trader. Why not gain the greatest advantage you need? So let me just kind of walk through this real quick. Again, I would recommend getting on the phone, having a conversation. This is the webinar special. You can't get this outside of the webinar. With the webinar special, now there's more options. You could do lifetime access. You could do multiple things. You could do multiple devices. This is just a webinar special to get people's feet into the door. Leverage it for the next 12 months. You also have the first 3 weeks, all access to everything. It's all unlimited. Then after about 3 weeks, you have a sector of your choice. I'd recommend choosing technology sector because it has the best opportunities in there. You have a quick start user guide. You have an online learning portal, videos, tutorials, and then you have somebody there for the first 6 months, a one-on-one customer support representative. Call them as often as you want to. Talk to them whenever you need to. Ask questions. They are one-on-one support there to be able to help you out. And I could talk about more and more testimonials. I like this guy right here, though, because he's a pharmacist, and he had just recently purchased a different software package for $15,000. He was super skeptical. But he realized, though, and it didn't work very well, he realized that he needed sophistication if he wanted to make some real money in trading. He's not looking to be a full-time trader. He did pretty well in the first couple of months, but he statistically wanted to see 6 months of history, so he kept going for 6 months, and now it's something permanent. Again, his goal is to not be a full-time trader, to build up his retirement. So let me just kind of tell you the little webinar special, and we'll kind of wind this thing down. This is, again, only for the webinar special. If you're looking to take access to this, I can get you guys a link for it, or we can talk on the phone and answer some questions. We're limited on time. You have the software license, the unlimited online training, the quick start guide. It's about a $5,600 package. But what I'm going to do through the program here in the online webinar, anybody who's in the webinar today, if you access the software today at the webinar special, it's a 40-year anniversary for Lane and his team. I'll give you everything we just talked about for only $997. It gives you a full year to analyze it, figure it out, see if you like it. If you like it after next year, you could extend. I think you're going to be very, very pleased. So here's what I would recommend doing. I mean, it's a no-brainer to me. For $1,000 for a tool like that, it's a no-brainer to me. It's simply, people lose more than that in a trade. For those of you who are interested in learning more, or if you're ready to take advantage of the special webinar, all I need you to do is type in a phone number into the question box. I recommend you do that right now, okay? Type in a phone number. What I'll do is I'll have an AI software expert. You're welcome, my friend. Reach out to you, answer any and all questions that you have. Make sure you're confident. Make sure all your questions are answered. I had to shorten this up. I obviously can't answer those questions here. Answer any and all questions that you have, and then, folks, you're off to the races. The only problem you'll have is that you didn't see this webinar 6 months ago and get started back then. Now, mind you, if James, I have your phone number, by the way, Jessica. And if you are typing your phone number, or if you want a link, type in the word link. I'll have somebody send out a link to you, or I'll send it out at the end of the webinar. For some reason, there's some issues with the software, the GoToWebinar software. People's numbers that will be typing in, they're going away. Please, if you could do me a favor, use the chat box to type in your number, not the question box, if you see the difference. Type in your number over there. Mel, I had you, then it disappeared. It was really weird. Jessica, I got you, disappeared. Rose, I've got you. Jim, I've got you. Thank you. Tammy, I've got you. Now, there is a, please note, there is a $35 a month data charge. This is not a VantagePoint thing. This is through traders only. It's like putting the gas in your car. VantagePoint can't control this. We get our data from somewhere else, okay? So, Mel, I've got you. Sergio, I've got you. Tim, I've got you. Fred, I got you. Suzanne, I got you. Dwight, I've got you as well. Awesome. So, there's a couple extra specials here. I had to be done by 2:30. I'm kind of like over my time now. I will give you guys free installation. We'll do a concierge service through the webinar. Type in a phone number. We'll get you enrolled. When you get the software set up, we'll go come in and set it up for you over like we'll spend an hour or two with you kind of setting things up. But for those who are still thinking about typing your number, and let me ask this question. What kind of value can you place on peace of mind knowing there's 40 years of history, a credible software company, accessible account managers, and world-class software with artificial intelligence? So for those who are still thinking about putting your number in, let me ask this question. Does the idea make sense? Fred, I got your phone number. Steven, I got you as well. Does it make sense?
Kelly, sorry. Since you're the last speaker, if you wanted to spend like an extra 5 to 10 minutes, you can.
Nah, just a couple things. I kind of rushed through the other stuff. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, I just, for some reason, there's some challenges with the GoToWebinar that I don't see everybody's questions.
Really?
Here's what I'm going to recommend everybody do. Just type in a phone number if you have any questions whatsoever. That way, we just have a one-on-one conversation. You know, sometimes it's easier than just getting things presented straight to you. Sometimes it's good to talk to somebody, get some questions answered. Hey, I had a question. Kelly talked about this in the webinar. I want to go over that. Happy to do it. Happy to do it. But thank you. I appreciate that. Last couple things here. Pretty cool little story here. Ellister, he's actually a retired Air Force pilot. And then he went over to flying 747s for a major airline. And now he's an actor. Kind of wild. And he's got a great story because it's very similar to all of us. He saw the product and was a little concerned because he did not have like a webinar price. He had the traditional, the price, paid like $5,000 or $6,000 for it. And he's a little concerned about that. But then he realized that he was going to trade regardless. And he's lost way more money than what the software actually costs. And then he actually ended up doing it within 3 days. He recouped all of his losses. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen for you, and I'm not saying that's the norm. I'm just saying, like, it's cool to see stories like that some people take it seriously, and they can really gain an advantage. Okay? So that's kind of it. I appreciate the extra couple minutes to wind down since I am the last one here. I'll just put this back up on the screen here, guys. If you have any questions, again, whatsoever, if you need the link, if you're just in a position, you're like, hey, this looks good. I'm going to buy the program. I'll try it out for a year. If I don't like it, I won't resubscribe. Great. Type in the word link. We'll send you out the link directly. I think they'll send it out through the chat box right now. And then if you don't have a phone number in there, so if you have a phone number in there, we'll reach out to you, get your questions answered, and we'll go from there, okay? Have a great afternoon, folks. Great morning, great evening, wherever you're on the world. Thank you for the time. And thank you again, the host, for the additional time. I appreciate that. You guys have a great afternoon. Take care.